Welcome to Sangoku Busho Legends, where the spirit of Japan's samurai and the battles of the Sengoku era come alive. Tonight's story, Oda Nobunaga. A temple burns at Honnōji. Gunshots echo through the night. Smoke climbs into a sky already churning with summer heat. Many say this is where Oda Nobunaga's story ends. It isn't. The path into those flames is the real tale. Reform and rupture, choices that rewired Japan itself. After the Ōnin War, Kyoto's old authority shattered. Great lords rose and fell, not only by the spear, but by rice, coin, roads, ports, and information. In this world, victory belonged to those who could build systems, who could turn power from a momentary charge into a standing current. From the province of Owari stepped a young lord whispered about as a fool. He dressed strangely, moved unpredictably, and broke ceremony the way a storm breaks a stagnant summer. Yet behind the oddity was a relentless clarity. The map was changing, and custom could no longer keep pace. He consolidated Owari with a mix of audacity and cold reading of people, testing loyalty, pruning resistance, elevating talent wherever he found it. Then came the narrow defile, known to history as Okehazama. A far larger, celebrated army advanced with banners like a rippling field of poppies. Nobunaga moved with speed, used weather and terrain, and struck where expectation was weakest. In one stroke, the logic of pedigree gave way to the logic of surprise. The young lord of Owari became a name carried on every road. With momentum at his back, he turned toward Kyoto. For generations, the city's symbolic power outlived its practical strength. Nobunaga's instinct was not merely to fight, it was to rearrange how authority itself was recognized. He supported a shogun, then clipped the cords that had turned that office into a puppet stage. He set new terms. If you could make the realm move, the realm would acknowledge you. Legitimacy would follow logistics. That vision could not live on battlefields alone. It needed towns that breathed trade, roads that stitched the coasts to the capital, and rules that rewarded movement over monopoly. Nobunaga opened markets, loosened guild control, and invited merchants to compete. Goods flowed faster, castle towns swelled, prices began to reflect distance and demand, not the privilege of a gatekeeper. To rule the sword, he learned, you first had to rule the flow. On campaign, he treated technology not as a talisman, but as a tool in a larger design. Firearms were valuable, yes, but only when matched to weather, ground, and discipline. He drilled for coordinated volleys, learned to time reloads against the rhythm of a charging cavalry, and raised earthworks that turned open fields into instruments of control. In such designs, individual valor mattered, but arrangement mattered more. Battles became problems of angles, timing, and supply. The clearest demonstration came on a field made famous for wooden palisades and a storm of lead. There, patience, position, and planning outshone spectacle. It wasn't simply that guns were powerful, it was that the army using them had become a system, cohesive, repeatable, and scalable. Victory, once dependent on a single hero's arm, now grew from 1,000 hands acting as one. Between campaigns, Nobunaga built. On the shores of Lake Biwa rose a fortress that was more than a stronghold. It was a statement. Azuchi's towering keep flashed with color and gold, visible proof that the world had a new center of gravity. Diplomats and traders, approaching by road or boat, saw not just a lord's house, but a new skyline declaring, order is possible, and it has an address. Around that height, the streets lengthened, bridges multiplied, and regulations encouraged movement rather than stasis. Tea gatherings and poetry linked warriors, monks, and merchants in networks of taste and exchange. Gifts, appointments, and audiences became lines in a ledger of influence.
Culture was not decoration, it was connective tissue for a realm under reconstruction. But renovation of this scale drags old pillars into harsh light. Nobunaga collided with entrenched religious powers, fortified cities, and all those whose privileges had grown thick and untouchable. He answered with measures as uncompromising as his vision. Temples burned, strongholds fell, allies were remade into vassals, vassals, when they faltered, into enemies. The realm moved, yes, but with every step forward, resistance grew sharper at the edges. And then, in Kyoto, one of his most trusted commanders turned. In a narrow pre-dawn span, everything was risk again. The attack came in the time between sleep and command. Honnōji became a furnace. Faced with the impossible, Nobunaga chose the iron path of his age. The man was gone. But the story did not return to silence. Systems survive their makers if they are properly built. Roads do not roll themselves up because a lord has fallen. Markets do not unlearn competition. Towns do not forget how to grow. Nobunaga's lieutenants, quickest among them, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, stepped on tracks already laid. In time, Tokugawa Ieyasu would drive the last stakes and fix the new timbers into durable peace. The arc bent toward unification not by miracle, but because the infrastructure making it possible was already humming. What was Oda Nobunaga's gift? He built the outline first. He forced open doors with force when he had to, then tried to bolt them in place with policy so they would not swing shut again. He replaced the prestige of old titles with the prestige of performance. He taught a fractured land to move along roads instead of bloodlines. This is why his image endures, not only as a warrior of fearsome will, but as a designer of momentum. He could be severe, terrible even, when he judged the old order beyond repair. But he was also the rare figure who saw battle, market, ceremony, and architecture as parts of one machine. Power was not a throne, it was a circulation. Build the circulation, and the throne becomes obvious. Return for a moment to the flames. Smoke rises. A city holds its breath. The immediate future is unclear. And yet beneath the ash, the map is already different. Roads straighter, towns larger, authority repositioned. People will travel these routes, do business in these markets, live under laws shaped by those reforms. In that sense, Oda Nobunaga does not vanish at Honnōji. He passes, unfinished, into the institutions that outlived him. Thanks for watching. How did you enjoy today's story? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like this video and hit subscribe to discover more epic stories of Japan's Sengoku era.